morning, brothers and sisters. It is a privilege for me to be here and share with all of you and greet you and so many brothers and sisters that we have known for many years to the Mesoamerica region. I can see some of your faces that I can identify that are my friends that we have shared uh, during many, many years. We want to say hi from the Dominican Republic where we find ourselves today. Um, I have plans that I was going to be in Panama for this time. Uh, for some different reasons, we were not able to be in Panama, so we are doing it from here, from Dominican Republic. And everything else, I know that this is our third season of mentoring of impact, and we have had great people bringing messages. And I know that we have had a very interesting topic where we were talking about with Pastor Milton. He said you don't you don't have to do the same topic that has been selected. So I would like for us to talk about a topic that has to do with the generation. And I believe that we have talked about mentoring our generation, but this topic had to be more specific. So we talk about why not share a topic that speaks about our generations directly, uh, like our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids, and our great great, because I know that God is a God of generations, and that we're gonna see it, and we're gonna see it in the scriptures that God gave the commandments, and we're gonna start right there in Exodus 20, uh, 3, that that He is a God that visits through the generation. So I wanna say a few things before we begin with the topic. The first thing is that I know that it's a sensitive topic when we talk about our generations because we're going to be touching on some statistics that are not always favorable and makes us good for pastoral family. And before we start on this, and, and we don't want you that if for any reason you are part of these statistics, that you will feel bad or feel as a failure in the ministry or feel that you will be hurt by this topic. Uh, More than this, we want you to know that there is hope and that this conversation, this topic, is for us to bring hope to the pastoral families. And also, before coming to talking into the topic, I want to introduce my interpreter. This is my son, Jose de la Cruz. He's a pastor in Ohio. He pastors at the church. And I'd like to show you a picture of my whole family. Uh, this, this is the picture of our family that we took in December. Normally, we after the kids move out of the house, we get together in during Christmas just to be able to share together. And I want you to know that if somebody asked me what is my biggest accomplishment in life, I wouldn't say that it's ministry. I wouldn't say the churches that I have pastored. I wouldn't say the positions that I have been able to be on or that I have been able to serve in the church. My biggest accomplishment, I will say that it is my family that God has given me. Together with my wife, like many of you know her, Titina, our four kids, our four, our four kids, our three boys, and our daughter, and our grandkids, and our uh, daughter-in-law. This is a blessing that I wouldn't change for anything in the world. I want you to welcome my family, and now that you have seen my family, I want us to talk about how we can mentor and accompany our generations. And like I said, told you a little bit ago, I'm very passionate about this topic. Not just now, I have talked to many pastors and leaders and youth leaders that are young, and one of the things that they're worried about is their family and what is going to happen with their families, especially when we have seen that many pastors and leaders and ministers, the greatest difficulty is the family. And God is a God of generation. And we see it in Exodus chapter 20, verse 3, 6. It says, "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth." That's why it says, "You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord your God, and I am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate, but showing mercy to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandment." When we are in ministry, one of the things that we have to work on, that we have to think about, is that God not only wants to bless me, God not only wants to use me, He wants to use my generation. And so anything that we do, this is going to affect our generation and our future generations. So that's why we have to care and protect who we are, what we do, how we are walking with God, because in either way, our generations will be impacted with what we do. And one of the things that there's no doubt about that we have seen is that as pastors and leaders, we focus a lot in mentoring, in assisting and accompanying our generation. We think about generations as the next pastors, the next missionaries, uh, the next yes that will come. So we want to impact people that are around us, but many times we start neglecting and leave behind those that are ours, our family. So we said we do like the Songs of Solomon's, the author of Songs of Solomon's, 1:6, chapter 1, verse 6 says, "My mother's son were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard, that it was mine, I have kept." Normally, we are caring for the church, everything that has been delegated to us, but we often neglect our own vineyard, our just like the writer of Songs of Solomon. We don't dedicate the time. We don't uh, come next to them to support them, our kids, our sons and daughters that they need for us to guide them uh, through generations and generations with what it is God's plan and purpose. The biggest success, the biggest accomplishment of any pastor or any leader, the biggest success of any man or woman of God is not the ministry. It is not how much they have been able to accomplish. It is not what they have been able to do through the different churches. It's their family. And I want you to pay attention to this. I'm not saying that they have to be pastors. I'm not saying that they have to be evangelists or that they have to be a missionary. For many, maybe that's not what they would like. That would be ideal. But what I'm saying is that we must have a family that we have connected them to God. That we have worked so that they could uh, be people that, in first place, they love God, and then everything else that comes, they'll be able to be able to do it out of that relationship, no matter whether it's called to ministry or anything else. But that is something that God will work with them. So, like I said a little bit ago, the statistics are not uh, probably the best. And before anything, there's an author named Peter Drucker. He's the leadership guru, and he talks about the four most difficult jobs. Is number one, be president of the United States. I also be president of any country, but maybe because of the big influence of the United States, being a president of the United States. The second thing is being president of a university. The third thing is being the CEO of a hospital. And in fourth place, he says that the hardest job it is being a pastor. It, and it is why, because being a pastor is not only a commitment with the local church, is this includes that not only with all the stress that the ministry can produce and cause, you also have a family, but you also have a life that we often neglect as well. And many times we neglect our being. We focus on doing, and then we finish in a place where we don't know our identity. We don't know who we are. So let's look at some statistics that should catch our attention, that should get our attention. They they will in the slides. All of them will be there, but I'm going to be sharing with you some of them that will take us to reflect. According to the Institute of Francis Schaeffer and Jim Fuller and other entities that I researched, 50%, 50% of pastors' marriages will end in divorce. That is alarming. The great um, amount of divorces in pastors and that are fighting for others, so others can get divorced. 80% of pastors and 84% of their wives, they they feel inadequate and discouraged in their roles as pastors. And a lot of the times they just don't say it. But there's a lot of pastors that they're there, but they feel ashamed to leave and resign. 80% believe that pastoral ministry negatively affects their families. And I know that many of the ones that are here, they have been a witness of realities like that. Uh, People that the pastoral ministry is affecting negatively the families. 50% of pastors that are also discouraged that they will leave the ministry if they could, but they have no other way to make a living, especially when that is their only job. It feels like it's a very heavy burden. Um, and if they find something else to do, they will leave ministry. 80% of seminary or Bible college graduates who enter the ministry will will leave the ministry within the first 5 years because they feel that it doesn't meet their expectations. And 90% of the pastors to the seminary Bible college training did only mediocre job preparing for ministry. 70% of pastors feel enormously underpaid, and we have BS here that this is one of the complaints of pastors that they feel like they're have great battles with leaders, all these fights with boards, and I know that many BS understand that. Uh, this is the complaints uh, of in meetings. Uh, we have heard so many things that it's hard to know to see how to be able to carry and with 70% of pastors consistently struggle with depression. And this is something that we need to pay attention to. How many pastors are falling into depression? And and the same percentage, 70%, they have a problem with self-esteem. They feel like they're not doing it right. They feel like they're not doing ministry in the way that they need to do it. Their self-esteem uh, is very low, and they're not in the best conditions to be able to pass or be in front of other people. 70% they say they don't have a close friend. This is in regarding pastors. This is regarding the pastors. And before I enter into some statistics of um, pastors' wives, we cannot give a good quality of life to our families if we don't take care and if we don't if we're not concerned if to have our good quality life ourselves. And this is something that we have to reflect and put it as a foundation, as a base. Um, that yes, I want to be a mentor of someone. I want I want to be a mentor of young people. I want to be able to mentor somebody in my local church. But we say a lot more with who we are than what we say to others. I mean, many people will not be paying attention to what we say, but to who we are, who we are becoming. We cannot inspire anybody by just talking about blessings. And if we're always discouraged, if we're always with low self-esteem, if we're always battling with depression, we cannot encourage others. More than that, we cannot support our families. Now, I want you to pay attention to some statistics of the pastor's wife. 80% of pastors' wives know that their husband is greatly overwhelmed with work. That means that they feel like that, that they're not paying attention to them. 80% of pastors' wives feel abandoned and unappreciated by the church members. And that's why just for many in some countries, for people to pay attention and respect the pastors, they also have to call them pastors. But that's not some pastors' wives. They don't have the call to be a pastor. They don't have the charisma, and they don't feel like they are pastors. But there's some congregations that they want to call them, and they call them and they compare them to pastors. That same percentage of pastors' wives who want their husband to choose another profession. 84% of their wives feel inadequate and discouraged in roles as pastors. In the same percentage, they feel pressure to do things and be someone in the church that they are not, just like I said a little bit ago. 56%, 56% of pastors that were um, asked wives, they say that they don't have close friends. And 21% of pastors' wives want less intrusion into their private lives from the church. 45% of pastors' wives said the greatest danger to them and their family is physical, emotional, and spiritual exhaustion. These are just some of the things that have to do with pastors' wives. We see it all the time, but we are not paying attention to it. And the worst thing is that when the people that are paying less attention to it is the pastor, is the pastor, whether male or female. This is something that we need to start talking about and pay attention. And that you add that we have a church that people start judging them and start criticizing and start saying things about them. So we must pay attention. And last statistics, there's some statistics that have to do with the children of pastors and leaders. They interview a series of pastors' kids, and 80% of them, uh, of pastors' children surveyed, they have had to seek professional counseling for depression. 64% leave the church as soon as they can become independent from the parents. They still go to the church because little, uh, 72% say the church took their parents away and they hold a grudge about it. This is very sad. And I heard a story from a pastor's kid that came to the pastor, and he said to the pastor said, "I came to denounce a an adultery of my dad. I came to I came to let you know that my dad has been unfaithful." But I said, "How is that possible? You have seen how he's always had a great testimony. He's always been always a great man." And he said, "No, my dad has been unfaithful to us, to the church. Everything, all the time that he spends is with the church. Everything is about the church. Everything is for the." For many pastors, they feel like that the church had taken their parents away. 78% said that church or ministry was more important to the parents that they were. And you know what this starts to create? 80% said that if they were going through any spiritual, emotional, or moral conflict, they will not tell their parents or any church leader for fear of being judged. And 73% they want to have their desk job in minutes. And I was looking at some statistics of suicide um, among leaders and and the sons and daughters of leaders. And I believe that this is something that has to get our attention. This is something that we have to uh, that should help us to look back and to create a balance and to pay attention to between what it is my family and my ministry. It's not for you to say that you have to leave the ministry. It's for you to be able to establish a balance in what it is what it is ministry and what it is your family. We spend our whole life looking for the well-being of others, but we have been losing our family. And we have to look not only for our uh, physical health, spiritual health, but to be able to guarantee the well-being of our generation. First Timothy 5:8, and maybe you have read this verse before, but the Apostle Paul says that if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Look at the way the Apostle Paul talks about it. He says that if we are able to provide for our own, we are worse than, than an unbeliever, worse than somebody that does not believe. and it says that we have denied the faith. This is something that we have to pay attention to. What is it that we are providing? Are we only just on one side of the balance of the ministry, or are we going to be able to pay attention to our generations? I would like to share with you 7 roles that we should play as mentors to our children and our generations. Working in an intentional way and focusing on them, um, working not only for you to inspire them, but also that we can inspire our grandkids, our great grandkids, and so on, our great grandkids. And hopefully you'll be able to see them. Let's look at these roles that we should work on. The first one is a commitment from all of us to guide them intentionally in their faith. And I say in an intentional way because it's not the sermon that you preach in a church every Sunday or the opportunities that you have to preach or teach, uh, to be able to guide them in their faith in an intentional way is for you to dedicate time for them to be able to know the God that you know. That you can talk to them about our God that is a God of generations, and have time with them of devotionals, and have time with them, uh, just accompany them, being with them, and helping them understand. I think there are things that we have forgotten that they work, that they're effective, just like God's word says that we must instruct our kids in their way, and even when they grow older, they will not stray away from it. This will work. But you have to do it in an intentional way. You have to work with them in an intentional way. We must go back to what we used to call in the past the family altar. And I know that it costs a lot of us. It takes a lot of effort because we're so busy. We have so many things going on. But we have to make this a priority. This is my time with the family. I remember when my kids were little, and with that is interpreting. Uh, he said like how uh, he will make us get up at 6 in the morning, uh, get up really early to have a devotional time before going to school. We wanted to be able to guide them and start them in the faith. My wife and I, we wanted to take care of them. The second thing is that we have to guide them in principles and values in a wise manner, in a wise way. Uh, my friends say that the principles and values they have been lost. The parents' roles not just to guide them in the path of faith, but also to guide them personally in values, ethical and and moral values. And that means that we have to teach them first with our family and give take time to talk to them about honesty, about empathy. It's not every talking about religion all the time. I'm talking just to them about religion, but there's a lot of other topics that it will be very helpful to them in their formation. The third thing The third role that we must do is being a model to follow, being an example. Many years ago, I an ad, a TV ad, but there was a dad going with the son through a dangerous path, and the dad said to the son, "Look carefully where you step." And the son looked at him and says, Daddy, look carefully where you step because I am following in your footsteps." And this is what happens. This is what they do. They look at what we're doing. We have to be a model. We have to be an example. It's not just telling them what to do, because what, what can we gain if we tell them they have to be faithful to God when we ourselves are not being faithful to God? How good is it if we are able to preach God's word in a beautiful way, in an eloquent way, but when they see that we are not leaving it, that we are doing the opposite. So we must be an example of life to them. Some specialists of uh, behavioral specialists show they say that children tend to imitate consciously or unconsciously those from whom they perceive protection, and that is what our children imitate in a natural way, and they should be the parents. So let's be good example. Number four is to guide them and accompany them in the different stages of their journey. To guide and accompany them in the different stages of life. And to be able to guide them, and it is is a great challenge that we have, and we have to prepare ourselves. Some parents and it, and I talk about younger pastors. We don't prepare ourselves for those different stages of life. We want kids. We want them. We even see them as pastors. And I say this because I lived through that, and I remember to my oldest son, I wrote a song about uh, that says I want to be just like my dad. And the song talks about how I will put my dad's shoes and tie and I will go to him to work just like him. And I rewrote a song just to him. And I remember that my son, my oldest son, he will make people laugh, and it was something that I desire. All of us desire that our kids, um, in different stages of our life, they will continue to grow and become like us. But there are things that we don't prepare ourselves for. And some people ask me, how is it that your kids have been involved in ministry? And how is it that you've been able to guide your kids to be able to be in ministry? He says, I made a lot of mistakes, but I learned from my mistakes in the different stages of life. But one of the things that we wanted to do is to be able to walk with them in the different stages of life. They were kids, when they were teenagers, when they were young adults, but also even after they left home. And now we are empty nesters. Uh, my Only my daughter has not been married, but all the boys are married. We are intentional in having that relationship with them. And now we wish that we could have just a building house that we could just live next to us and just all be together. Um, and I am very grateful for technology that brings us closer and we are able to talk in WhatsApp or Zoom or the different ways. But even after they have left the house, we have to continue uh, having that role of parents in the different stages of their lives. We have to be there. We have to be there to help them, to guide them, to mentor them. The the fifth role that we should do is to help and support them in their mistakes and faults. It's a lot easier to complain. It's a lot easier to start to attack our kids when they have made a mistake. Look that we are more tolerant. We we are more tolerant of others' kids, of somebody else's kids in the church than our own kids. And, and, and we must support them, and not just as we would support somebody else's kids, but more with our own kids. We have to remember the Apostle Paul said. Remember what he says, that first we have to provide for our own, so we will not be seen as worse than an unbeliever. We have to support our own kids, even when they make mistakes. I will never forget when my oldest son, uh, he had an accident with my vehicle, with my car. He was driving my car, and they were still all in the house, and my wife called me very worried, and it said that Ezekiel, um he had an accident. Uh and all I asked was, is he okay? And it says, everything else will come together, everything else will be resolved, because at the end, my son is more important than a car, than a house, than anything else. So we must we must do our role as supporting and being there even when we make a mistake. It said, hey, we don't say that we are going to applaud what they did, but we're going to say, hey, we know that you made mistakes, but we're going to get through it. We're going to be here for you. And you will see that this will uh, help. Number six is caring for, loving, and protecting your mother or father. This to me is very, very. Just talking to about the guys and pastors. If you love your kids, somebody says, if you love your kids, you gotta take care of their mother. They are paying attention to that. The kids are paying attention to that. Love to love is not just to have intimate moments. You'll see that in every day. The even if you don't believe it, the kids they're watching. They're paying attention if you love your spouse. And it's a good thing that I put here, because I remember that one time uh, that was sent an email, and I was traveling with my wife. But I remember this email that So he said that one of the things that he said in the email, in the house, we were the ones that we were fighting a little bit more, arguing more because of the ministry, because he was growing as a pastor. So he was always looking at the way that he would do things differently than I would do. And one day I was traveling and he was in front of the ministry. He was preaching and he was taking a lot of responsibility. And he understood what, and he was able to talk about how he admired him and respected him and how he valued the example. But that wasn't the thing that touched me the most. That what touched me the most is, um, and it was to say thank you for taking care of mommy. Thank you for taking care of mom. And I didn't know that he was watching that he was taking care of those details. Him and the rest, we've seen how you care for mom, and that's we would like to replicate when God gives us a spouse. And thanks be to God. So if you want to work with your kids and develop their character, you also need to give an example on how you care for your spouse. This is something that will give them an important message and will mentor them more than a lot of anything else. And number seven is being builders of a generational legacy. How do you sit with your kids and talk to them about their kids, even when they haven't been born yet? What is it that you are working with them? How would you like to see your generation? This is something that you have to do also in an intentional way. Not just it's not just from the sermon from the pulpit. It has to be something that where there has to be intentional conversations on how we're going to build a generation of men and women that are blessed, uh, men and women of principles, men and women that are successful, but there will be men and women that will be a great blessing for society. These topics, I'm very excited about them, and I can be here for a longer time talking about it. And now I would like to give you some tips that will help us in our work of mentoring our generation. I'm gonna do it briefly, like quickly, and then uh, you you're gonna be able to see them there. Uh, One, protect the boundaries of your work time um, by eating with your family, not working every night. Uh, this is something that we have heard so many different times. Um, this is something that we must do. Establish the boundaries, the limits. Do not let yourself be overwhelmed with ministry and work. Do not give the time that belongs to your family to ministry. Something that is important. Number two, be 100% present when you share with your children at home. That means that you need to turn off your phone and disconnect your mind from the church, and you have to spend quality time with them. Today, there's too many distractions, and I remember when we didn't have that many distractions in the past. The 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 biggest hobby that we had was just lay on the floor and play, and do any different things and just play and watch cartoons and in a black and white TV, uh, watching the Smurfs. But this is time now for us to talk about church. To pay attention to the phone. We have to avoid the distraction. There was that was talking about a kid that went to the diner and he was writing lists of names, things that are important. And the son asked, "Is my name in there?" And the dad said, "No, it's not. But we will put it first here on the list." Number three, get to know their world, their friends, their activities and studies. You have to be present there. Uh, it's gonna be important for you to be there and know what they're going through. So get to know their world. Number four, invest in the gifts. Let them serve. Let them serve to play an instrument. Uh, and, and a lot of the times, that's a lot of it creates passion in them. Get them involved in ministry. That was something that we did with our kids, involving them, not forcing them, but inviting them to participate and to be part of what we were doing, the things that they wanted to do. We invest in their gifts, and we invested in buying a keyboard because my son wanted to learn. So we have to invest in the things uh, that they wanted to do and they wanted to learn and that they enjoyed doing, especially in the church. So we have to invest in that. However, you have to show God's grace. Keep loving them even when they make mistakes. Just like what we talked before, don't be too harsh on themselves. Yes, we have to do this we have to establish the discipline, but sometimes we're too harsh and we try to make an example of our kids. But we have to say that I say this with a lot of respect. We don't have to applaud or applaud their mistakes, but we have to show God's grace because you show it to people. When there is number six, when there's conflict in the church, don't poison your children with your own attitude. You have to be wise. Do not make uh, uh, bad comments or because you're gonna create bad feelings in your own children, and that's something that you're going to continue passing on from generation to generation. When you develop that kind of attitude around your kids, they also create the same thing, the same attitude. But these are things that I'm saying it quickly, but we have to pay more attention to it. Number seven, do not expose them unnecessarily to criticism and observation by members of the congregation, using them in illustrations for the sermon. Number eight, protect them from unfair expectations in the church. Let them live and enjoy and burn at different stages, and don't kidnap their childhood, and don't be scared of the different dreams, the things that they have. And we must not forget that we also had them too. We have our moments that we were crazy as teenagers and as young adults, but we forget that we were once kids. We forget that we were once kids. We forget that we were once teenagers. We forget that we were young adults and we had dreams and we had things that we did and big expectations. And sometimes what we see in our kids, we are arguing with them about. Number nine, encourage them to have healthy friendships outside the church as well. You have to make sure that they are healthy relationships, and is a secret. Sometimes friendships in the church are more damaging from some people than outside of the church. So you have to pay attention to that. Number 10, protect your day off and make special times to be with your family, just like vacation, things like that. We have talked to so many pastors over the years, and we have asked them, "What was the last time that you took a vacation with your family?" And they say, "I don't know what that is. I have never taken a vacation." Imagine if they have never taken a vacation themselves, how will they take a vacation with their family? This is why they have a bad, deteriorating marriage and bad relationships with their kids, and even themselves are unhealthy and they're stressed out because they are sinning and they don't know it. And because even the Bible talks about the Sabbath and taking time to rest. This is where the Word of God guides us to. Uh, even in our denomination, in the National Church, the pastors have a right to a sabbatical, and you have to advocate for it and ask for it. And you have to do it. This will help you to protect yourself and protect your marriage and protect uh, your family as well, and allow them to be able to relate with other leadership um, and participate in the best of the Christian world, such as camps, concerts, field trips, seminars, workshops, and other similar activities. This is also something that helps them grow, and just go with them. Um, and just go with them. And and I know that often we honor and respect the commitments that we make with churches, with ministry, and other things, but we don't respect the commitments and honor the commitments that we make with our own kids. I remember there was an event. that there was happening here in Dominican Republic, and in that time they were the music, the rap and reggaeton. It was a style of music. Uh, and if you want to hear a confession from me, I did not like it at all. I didn't like the style of music. I didn't like the reggaeton. So, but I will still let them. I still I'll let them listen to it. Because- But I remember we had an event. It was more than 2 hours from where we used to live. So it was a youth convention, and I said, "Let's go. Let's go to the convention because after we come back, we're gonna take you." It was like 2 hours away, and so I'm gonna take you to the concert. So we went to the convention and we did all the work that we needed to do, and then we said we're gonna go to the concert. And somebody asked me, "Are you gonna go to that concert?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go because I have to honor the word that I gave to my kid. If it was to somebody else, I would honor them." So we returned almost at 2, 3 in the morning. But I walked with them. I jumped. It, it, we have to go with them. We have to do things with them, and encourage them to things that to participate in things, even if it's not the thing that likes you the most. But this is something that will help them, even when they have a different things that they like, different styles of music. Support them with friendship and understanding. It is more important to walk with them than to preach to them. More important to walk with them than to preach to them. Help them to. Many pastors' kids they struggle to be able to connect and worship God in their dad's church, but this event, these things will help them. Help them create a positive identity as a pastor's child without embarrassing them about it. And tell them about their activities on their social network. You should be the first fan of your children. You should be the first encourager and and 15, be attentive and available for their moments of crisis. Remember that you should build a relationship with a friendly parent. Uh, many people say no that I'm my child's best friend. It's okay to be friends with your kids, but the first role is for you to be God. We have to be friendly parents. I know that I feel that I have failed in certain aspects as a mentor to your children, uh, but I want to start a process of improvement. What can I do? And here are some ideas to get you started. Reflect on your past actions. Reflect on your past. What are some of the things that I have done that I should not that I shouldn't do? Now it's you still there's still time. Even when your kids are adult, there's still time. Communicate with them. Talk to them openly. Um, that they will see your heart. Set clear and specific goals about the values and principles you want to instill in your children. So let's go out to eat. Let's talk about topics that it will be good for them. Uh, um, Spend quality time with your children. With your children, participate in activities that promote communication, trust, and the development of a stronger relationship. And do it with the same honesty that you do with your own children. Look for tools and books and strategies and things that will help you, uh, professional help, everything that you can use to accomplish, to establish those relationships. And finally, be patient with, uh, be patient. Where the areas that you have been astray for so many years, it's not going to get fixed just overnight. It require effort. Be patient with yourself and your children. If you do it at the end, that you will discover that it was worth the time. It was worth to start the process, and uh, and ask for forgiveness when you have to do it. Be able to acknowledge the mistakes and just say, "I'm sorry. I have made many mistakes. I have done many things that I don't feel proud of. Um, Maybe they hurt you. Maybe they caused hurt and grief in you. But I didn't have anybody to help me. I'm learning. I I want to start anew and work in our relationship. We want to be a generation that honors God. Glory. The act of mentoring our family in a direct way, it, 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 that we will leave a legacy, and this is going to be the most important thing, because the things that you are able to accomplish, your kids will. I believe my kids will make it further than than what God has taken me and I believe God is going to bless my generations, and I want to be there, and I want to be there to celebrate, and I want to be there for you to share with me about your new generation. Thank you so much. I don't know if there's any questions here at the end. Um, I'm gonna look at the chat. If there's any questions, we're gonna give to Brother Samoran.